Hello, hello, hello. Wherever you are on this life-giving planet called Earth, I hope wherever you are located, you are having a majestic day, evening, or night. Welcome to my channel where I talk about our beloved Blender. In particular, I'm talking about Blender's version 2.83.3 long-term support. But I guess the version of Blender don't matter as long as it's 2.80 and above. Now, I was talking to my wife about when I first used Blender. You know, there's some things in life that you never forget. For instance, I was around when Ronald Reagan got shot. I was young, like 10 or 11, 9. I was young, but I never forget when President Ronald Reagan got shot. Lucky for him, he survived. He didn't end up like poor John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Lucky for him. I remember when a nation was rocked to the core when the first space shuttle exploded in the sky. I was in high school then. That rocked all of us. To see the thing explode in the air and the little shards coming down. Me and my high school comrades was talking about it. When you undergo an explosion like that, nothing is left. You basically got disintegrated. So I remember stuff like that. The topic is, I remember when I first used Blender. That stick with me. I never forget it. The version of Blender that I used was version 2.76. Compared to the day version of Blender, it was ugly. Ugly. I've shown people in my family 2.79 and 2.80. And they say version 2.80 looks so professional and polished. Because let's be honest, the thing that probably turned people off were versions 2.79, 2.78, going on, all the way down to the original version. Is Blender, when you click those buttons, it was text heavy. Every time you look around, there was some text. It was a button that you click, but those 2.79 versions of Blenders and to the Genesis, they was not icon based yet. That's basically it. The version of Blender now is 2.80 is more icon based. It still got them shortcut keys, but it welcomes 2.80. It welcomes the new user to the world of 3D graphics because it don't got all that ugly text anywhere. But anyway, like I said, I remember when I first opened up Blender and I said, damn, this thing look hard as I don't know what. Here's the reason why. There was a toolbar on the left with a bunch of buttons. There was a toolbar to the top of the screen with a bunch of buttons. There was a toolbar on the right with a bunch of buttons. There was a toolbar at the bottom with a bunch of buttons. Now, if you've been spoiled by the world of Microsoft and web browsers, they only have a toolbar to the top, and that's it for the most part. The toolbar is located to the top. It may have an occasional sidebar, but it don't look sophisticated. Blender, and I'm sure that all the other 3D applications, not just Blender, they look complicated because they have scroll bars, toolbars going all the way around the screen in a rectangular motion. So that turned me off. So I set it aside, and then I saw Harold the Cube sitting right in the center. I said, what can you do with this? What's this cube here for? At least I think with Mario and they got that pretty little teacup. That got your interest, a little pretty little teacup or whatever they got. But seeing Harold the Cube there, I said, what am I supposed to do with this cube? It turned me off. So I closed the application and left it alone for several months. You hear me again? I didn't touch Blender again for several months. It was still on my computer. It was still there, but I just said, screw it. It looks hard. But luckily for me, I have computer programming skills. I have art skills. I'm not no professional. I'm an educator by trade, but I'm inquisitive. Yes, I say that I'm inquisitive. So I use GIMP. I use Krita. I use LibreOffice. I use LibreDraw. So I play the piano and I play the flute, etc., etc. So I have a lot of other hobbies. So I came back around and said, let me give this thing a try. And this is what I use to help me. Instead of just going right into Blender raw and naked, I said, let me do some research on Blender on YouTube. And I pulled up some videos on YouTube, and I remember the first lesson I did with Blender, it was about that clock that used the latest modifier. I don't know if you all ever used that video. It was a clock, and it used that latest tool where it made the clock distorted. That was my first step into the world of Blender, and ever since then I've been using Blender. I don't use it well, I can say now I do use it every day, but I don't do nothing intensive with it. I know how to use it. I got modeling skills, but I said my normal profession is an educator by trade. So for me, Blender is just a hobby that I like. I'm trying to get my students interested in it. I show some of my relatives, my younger relatives, but they said I guess it looked too hard for them. And they may be intimidated by me because I got all the other skills. They probably say, he's so called smart, so I better not do it. But they've been intimidated. But, so I just want to share with you all when I started using Blender. Thank you for stopping by. If you enjoy my stroll down memory lane and when I first used the open source software, the top 10, and the top 10 list of 3 creation applications, give me a thumbs up. If you want to comment about when you first fell into the world of Blender, because I have to say this, once you start, you never let it go. At least that's what I gather. Once you start with the Blender, especially with the new version 2.80, once you start with it, very few people set it down and don't come back. Leave a comment. If you would like to subscribe for future content that I may talk about Blender on this particular channel, my Blender channel, I welcome you to subscribe. Until the next time, Blender family, peace.